Hi, Jolene. This is Charlie. Um, I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction, a background to what it is I'm doing before I actually got into it. And that's just that I read Go Ask Ogre a few months ago now, and it just touched me and impacted me very deeply. It really, really meant a lot to me as I read it. And I felt compelled to get in touch with the author. So I sent this very heartfelt and emotional letter over on Facebook, and she got back to me immediately and has just been so kind and supportive of me since I sent it, and it really means a lot to me. It's more than I ever could have asked for. She's just been such a kind and sweet person, and I'm more than happy to do this for her, which is to just read out the letter that I wrote to the camera and for anyone watching and listening to this. So thank you so much again for everything. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Um, and yeah, I'm gonna do that now. All right. Hello, Jolene. I'm not sure if you'll even see this message, and I don't want you to feel like you have to reply, but I really felt compelled to send it on the off chance that you will see it. You probably have gotten many messages like this, but I still really wanted to say something, so sorry in advance if this is too strange or if this bores you. I just purchased and read your book, Go Ask Ogre, and I can't stress enough how much it resonated with me and how incredibly important it is to me that it exists. To be honest, I started writing this letter before finishing the book, and now I'm looking it over again after having finished, making sure everything sounds alright through tears. I cried through the last 10 pages of the book. Thank you so, so much for being willing to share your story, as deeply personal as it is. I had heard about Go Ask Ogre a few months ago, but had not until now had the chance to actually get my hands on it, or been brave enough. To be honest, I was kind of scared to read it, because just the descriptions and reviews I read struck me on a very personal level, and I didn't know how I'd feel actually reading it. I wasn't sure I'd be able to handle it. When I finally got it, and it arrived in the mail, I was still scared, and when I opened it up and skimmed through it, that alone made me start to cry. When I finally did read it, I couldn't believe the level in which I related to so much of it. I had to stop reading it a few times, sometimes for hours at a time, in order to take some deep breaths and calm down because I got so emotional and overwhelmed as I read. But it was all absolutely wonderful, and I will never regret reading it for a second. I don't want to bore you with too much information about myself, but in brief, my name is Charlie, and I'm a 19-year-old writer and artist. I'm a Sagittarius, and I was born in the year of the tiger, just like Ogre. I live in a little tiny farm town in California, where there's nothing to do, and I was raised Christian, but I don't know what I believe now, which scares me sometimes. I spent 2 years of high school in independent study after my depression got so horrible that I could no longer be in public school. From there, my depression, as well as some other mental health issues, have been a constant battle and struggle in my life. I'm an English major in college, and I'm getting my associate's degree this year, but I don't know what I want to do next. I just want to write stories. I don't have many friends, and oftentimes, just getting through each week feels like a victory. Anyway, aside from loving writing and art, I also love industrial and goth music, and the goth subculture and community, and have really found a place in it to express myself and create an identity and sense of self that I actually feel comfortable and accepted in. The times I've gotten to be a part of a goth community and be around others with the same interests and struggles and passions as me has been some of my happiest moments. I love so many goth bands, but my heart definitely lies in industrial music. I love Ministry, KMFDM, Throbbing Gristle, Frontline Assembly, Coil, Revolting Cox, Pigface, Cabaret Voltaire, Nine Inch Nails, and so many others, but my favorite of them all is Skinny Puppy. I discovered Skinny Puppy a week after my 18th birthday, and Nivik Ogre was immediately someone I latched onto as something much more than just a hero or an idol. Without even knowing him personally, he became someone I depended on. I was obsessed, and I still am obsessed with him. Ogre and Skinny Puppy have consistently made me feel like I'm not alone and like things will be okay in my life. Ogre's music has been the soundtrack to so many of my darkest hours, hospital visits and deaths, and just horrible nights where I didn't know if I would make it to morning. In interviews, he was always so sweet and smart and funny, and on stage he was so creative and charismatic and talented and cool. And as I got deeper into Skinny Puppy's community, I met many people who had gotten to meet him, and they always talked about how he's everything he seems and more. I felt safe when I thought of him, and I still do. I don't know why I'm talking in the past tense. He's been a source of comfort in my life, and he makes me feel like I can survive. Last year, I went through a really terrifying and life-threatening situation, and I wholly believe Ogre and his music was what got me through it, as my entire life was turned upside down, and I found myself questioning everything I had known. Only about 2 weeks into the recovery from this event, I was given VIP tickets for his tour in October as a gift. It felt like a sign, and I spent every moment up until then hanging on to that day as a reason to keep going. And it was so worth it. It was the best day of my life. He was so sweet to me, and I gave him a letter explaining to him how much he means to me, because I was so shy and worried I couldn't convey it in words. Although in reality, the letter barely scratched the surface, I didn't want to overwhelm him or worry him with how much my life tends to be in his hands. I covered the letter in art I'd done of him and his characters. He was so kind and supportive, and I got a big hug from him after, and he was really encouraging of my art, which meant a lot since I get insecure about it a lot. He talked about his writing process and many of his struggles he's overcome in his life since his childhood. After he hugged me, I tried to thank him for everything he's done, but before I even got the chance, he thanked me for coming out to see him, which blows my mind. I still can't believe it. I've stayed alive for him, and he thanked me just for being there to see him. I was only alive to be there because of him. I wish I could have talked to him more, but just the time I had with him was so magical, and meeting him was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I have his signature right here. I'm going to cherish that memory forever, and I would love to see him again, and maybe next time I'll stop being so flustered and I'll actually be able to think of more questions for him. So, you see, sorry again to bore you with the stories of a stranger, but your book was something that resonated with me very, very deeply. Maybe more than any other book ever has, since it connected so specifically with my life and experiences. It gave me hope, and it made me feel like I wasn't alone. There's so many little sentences throughout your letters that I wanted to write down and save somewhere just because I couldn't believe how well someone else had transcribed my feelings onto a page. Feelings I hadn't even found a way to put into words myself. But your book ends much further down the road than where I am in life right now, and you tell a story of hope and recovery and healing and strength. You told a story that serves as a reminder to me that life will go on, and I can go on and come out stronger in the end. So I wanted to thank you. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say it, but I wanted to say that your book and your letters and your story really means something to people. You've published something that really matters. Knowing a book exists out there with a true story that so deeply parallels mine in so many ways means more to me than I can stress. It hardly even feels real. Just knowing anyone out there found solace in the same things that have kept me going and have fought and won through similar hardships is unreal to me. Despite being an edgy, lonely, depressed, weird teenager, I'm not alone in the world, and I don't have to face these daily battles without any hope. So thank you. I have no doubt that your writing has improved hugely since you wrote the letters in your book, but you have such a way with words in your letters, and such a beautiful way of capturing feelings that many people are afraid of talking about or sharing. You're clever and funny, and there's so much voice and personality in what you say. The book is just teeming with such strong emotion. You shared such a beautiful, inspiring story that's so centered around a man who means so much to me and has saved my life so many times. I felt like I had to reach out to you somehow and let you know the impact your writing had. So thank you again, and I hope all is well. Brap on, smash glass houses, fly from sorrow for a new divine tomorrow, etc. Charlie.